I am the Highland scribe, scribe to the stones, to the winds, to the bloodlines that walk unseen. Come closer, closer still. You see, the fire's warm. But this tale tonight, this tale runs wild. The keeper's beard shifted with a smile. Hyman, I was there when you fell out the apple tree behind your camp, and I broke your ribs. You shouted, "I'm fine," afore you could breathe. I was there when you slept under the cart one hogmanay and dreamed something that woke you up and kept you awake for a few nights after. He touched the keys at his hip. I keep doors, Isaac. They keep me, and all that passes through them. Grandfather felt his skin crawl between his shoulders. He hadna told that apple tree story to anybody but his own mother. They turned and left again, past a slit of window where the sea hurled itself at the cliff and broke into white thunder. The air tasted of salt and iron and a slow, sleeping damp. The keeper's steps made no sound. Isaac's boots scraped as if the place needed to hear that he was real. You said guests, Willie managed, trying to soft-step his fear into a joke. Guests usually ken what time dinner is and what year the meal is. 16-something? 17-something? The keeper stopped suddenly and looked back over his shoulders, eyes as bright as a leaf, light after rain. Years are coats, lad. Some fit, some dinna. This one fits you baith. That's the best answer I'll waste upon a clock. He moved again, and they came upon a little graveyard this time, tucked between walls, a place you'd miss unless you felt the hush first. Stunted yews leaned into the wind, and the ground swelled a little here and a little there. Hills no one spoke o'. The chapel door across the way stood open, candlelight breathing against the stone like a living thing. It's bonny right enough, Willie said. Because it was. In their own time it lay broken, a stubborn outline against the sky. Here it shone, wood polished by hands, glass that caught firelight and threw it back like jewels in the faint smell of beeswax and salt. Aye, said the keeper softer than afore. Aye, and it minds every oath that was ever cracked apart inside it. They didn't go in just yet. The keeper tipped his head in the other direction, and they followed him through a narrow passage that turned once and then again, and the air cooled. The noise of the castle, voices, boots, the old drum of working life. Aye, the same distant sea beat that followed them through the cliffs. A small well stood in a paved corner, like a thought that somebody hadn't finished. Its wall was neat, and the stones, new compared with the rest, fitted so close a knife blade would find nae friend between them. The water inside glowed a murky turquoise, as if remembered the sky, but didn't quite trust it. Willie made for it at once, as lads do when there's something that looks like it might answer a question they haven't formed yet. Willie, Isaac said, grabbing his sleeve. The keeper's hand shot out and caught them both by the breath. Back now, he said, and there was nothing kind in it. For the first time, his voice, it carried fear. Why? Willie snapped, angry for being feared. It's only water. You could drink it. Aye, you could, the keeper said, eyes never leaving the pool. And you could mak a meal o' a knife, if you were hungry enough. It's no meant for your belly, richt enough, nor your eyes. My grandad felt the pull o' it all the same, sort of a tug the way a cliff edge draws a person's feet forward, just to see what falling might feel like. The turquoise skin of the water sat still, but his mind insisted something moved beneath it, sort of slow as a snake and as patient as winter. What does it belong to? My grandfather asked, because questions are sometimes a wall against roads that you shouldna walk. The Countess, the keeper said, commissioned it herself. Oh, beautiful as a blade, and by God she was twice as sharp. Hair black as a raven's wing, with the ends curled in ringlets. Eyes the colour of the North Sea when it's thinking about murder, and a face as smooth as porcelain, and a heart that learned its trick fae places that dinna ken mercy. He took a breath that sounded like the first one he'd needed in such a long time. She traded what was hers for what was no meant for mortal hands. She used the water like a window, looked through to other places, you ken, the ones beside us you canna quite touch, and to times that aren't quite finished yet or never really started, and the well liked her for it. Liked? Willie said, because the past tense was a rope to throw himself. They tried her in the chapel, you ken, the keeper said. That one over there. Executed her, where she'd sworn her oaths. She cursed the well wi' her last breath, and it keeps its curse like a lover. All who look and seek will find misfortune, and the road that misfortune chooses leads most often to death. Silence took them for a while. Even Willie's breath went quiet, like his lungs were listening for something at the bottom of the stones. It'll fade, the keeper said, at last, his voice returning to the man they thought they knew. Power wears doon like boot leather. In time folk'll call it by some other name and come to it with stories and photographs, but no quite yet. He flicked his eye to Willie. No for you. They left the well standing alone with its colour and its hunger. The corridors opened and warmed again, and the life of the castle flowed back like blood after a long meal. Then they came to a door, tall as two men, and the keeper pushed with his palms, as if greeting an old friend, and it swung inward without complaint. The great hall unfolded in tiers of light and shadows, tables along the walls, with benches drawn tight. A high table on the dais and the far end of the room, flashed with silver. Candles threw light like coins, generous one moment, miserably the next. Somewhere a fiddle tried to find a tune and failed, and people laughed like there was half the point. Annie's girls were ready, setting out the platters, pies whose crusts shone with egg, a boar turned its crisp skin to show them the meat, a trench roasted, rich sugared browned at the edges, and a boy carried a pitcher that sweated dark wine. As they looked around at this feast that lay before them, the keeper tapped my grandfather and Willie on the back and said, "Eat, you'll need it." And they ate like lads who had thought they might no see meat again for a bonny long time. The boar had a crackle that rang under their teeth. The pie broke and showed the pheasant. That still looked like a pheasant. I remember my grandfather telling me that. And he said he didn't really care. It tasted magnificent. They tore hunks of bread that steamed in their hands, and they dunked them in gravy that tasted of marrow and bones. My grandfather said he had never tasted anything like it before. Between mouthfuls, Willie glanced up at the glitter of the high table. Is that? Aye, the keeper said, as if that answered all the futures and the pasts all at once. Sometimes things are where they need to be. I mind my grandad saying that he drank from a golden cup and nearly choked on the thought of he was actually holding gold in his hands. He put it down on the table and just stared at it. The keeper spoke like the food had loosened his tongue. He pointed with his chin to the carved beams. That one came down in a storm. So wild it was that we named it. Took the roof, you ken. We sat with rain, oh aye, rain upon our heads, and played at cards and pretended we were at the sea. There by the hearth, 3 brothers swore never to fight each other again, and broke it before the spring. Up there, you see, the dark bit in the stone, that was smoke for when the auld cook, aye, she set whisky near the flame, and near set us a' in a blaze. He told small stories under the roof, and it was like a chest you could open and smell the lives inside of it. My grandfather and Willie laughed when the others laughed, and they grinned when a girl made a face at them over a platter. They blinked away for the burn o' the fire. At some point, the keeper leaned in. His beard was bright with the candlelight. "Isaac," he said, voice lowing to the name like a hand upon a shoulder. "You asked what year it was." He paused long enough for the question to make itself gain. "If you must keep on the clock, think o' a time when faith got folk locked in the dark, and jewels needed hiding fae men who called themselves new. Think o' kings wha needed favours, and doors that needed hidden shut. Put your finger on that line, and you'll no be far wrong." My grandfather swallowed. He wanted to ask at least 6 more questions, and at the same time none at all. "So that's it then," he said at last. "We're back in time." The keeper smiled without showing his teeth. "Some places turn their face towards their best selves when asked kindly. Eat your fill." There's mair to see yet, laddie, before the day throws you back to where you began. After the eating came a long moment where the hall breathed them out into the corridor yet again. The keeper led without hurry. My grandfather tried to hang on to the warmth of the fire with his skin. It trailed after him a few steps and then disappeared. They passed the guardhouse again, and the grate sat in its place, square and innocent. My grandfather didn't look too closely. He kent what he'd seen, and he didn't want to give the dark the satisfaction of making him doubt it. At a turning, a young boy ran into Willie, full pelt, and bounced back like he'd hit a wall of oak. "I'm so sorry," he yelped. His eyes were wide, and he stared as if Willie were the first bird of spring. Then he flashed a gap-toothed smile and fled the way children do when they're chased by nothing but air. "What day is it?" Willie asked, breathless for no good reason. "The day that holds," said the keeper, not unkind. "The day that keeps you until you're ready to be let go." Willie shook his head. This was the last time he was going to ask. They came again to the chapel, but they went in this time. The hush inside sat upon their shoulders like a cloak. Candles stood all along the walls, and their flames steady as if no draught dared to trouble them. The air smelled of beeswax and stone gone cold from prayers, and there at the front a dark plank lay across the trestles. Ordinary wood that had seen too much. My grandfather thought of the keeper's small tales, oaths made and oaths broken, a woman's voice humming when there was no woman to be seen. He looked at the floorboards and wondered what weight they had held beside them, the feet of the living. Willie swallowed. "I dinna. I ken," my grandfather said. The keeper bowed his head for a moment and then lifted it again, business back in his hand. "There's a thing I'd show you, but you'll keep your hands to yourselves while you look. Do you agree?" The boys looked at one another and they shook their heads and, "Yes, we agree." He took them to a door they hadn't seen before, down a stairs that turned until it forgot which way it had started, and into the depth where the air had the taste of coins left too long in a palm. The walls were weeping, and the steps had been worn by feet that had not come back up. "Mind, now," the keeper said. "The rock here, it likes folk. It'll keep you. I've given half the chance." The stairs ended at a passage, and the passage ended at a room that did not want to be called a room. It felt more like the inside of a thought the cliff had been thinking of for centuries. Torches were set in iron, mouse through steady light. The floor was smoother than my grandfather expected. It was as if something had licked it clean. He forgot himself for a breath. Jewels lay there. Jewels as big as a man's eye, and bigger. All the colours a storm believes in. Wine, dark, forest deep, sky after rain. The wild blue inside the well. They didn't sit like treasures in a picture book. They sat like stones do when they've been left alone for such a long time and don't intend to be moved. Silver lay like a river gone quiet and set apart. and on a high slab a crown glowed without needing a flame. My grandfather didna speak. Willie couldna breathe, and the keeper stood as still as if he was dead.